Hi friends, today is the day we're talking about the toms. We're taking a deep dive into these overlooked drums, and I'm going to show you how I take mine from sounding flat to fat. The toms are an interesting species because they're not really the first thing that you consider when you think about recording drums, but they're the hardest to get right, and every listener immediately notices if they sound good or bad, and they're gonna let you know it too. Today we're looking at 3 things that I do to keep my toms fat and punchy in the mix without overtaking the rest of the drum kit. I treat both the rack and the floor tom as one drum, like one instrument. So if I'm talking about one, I'm really talking about both because I don't want one sounding different than the other. The first thing is the tuning. I'm going to show you how bad and how weird my drum sounds in the room, but how and why it translates so much better in the mix. The second thing is the microphones. We're talking about not only the direct mic, which is the incredible AKG 414 BULS going through the API 560, but we're also talking about the overheads and the room mics as well, and why a good sound to me is more than just the direct mic. Finally, we're going to look at the processing. I'm going to show you the EQ going into the computer. I'm going to show you everything I'm doing inside of the computer on Pro Tools. And then I'm also going to show you how the drum buses help make the toms speak with multiple layers of compression. So as you can tell, the theme here is team effort, because getting the drum to sound good without the help of the other members, like the other drum mics or the processing of the whole kit, is all really null and void if we don't look at the bigger picture. First, I want you to have a listen to this drum in the room and tell me it doesn't sound like garbage. Here it is through the raw audio of my iPhone. So my goal with these drums is to have minimal overtones with fast attack, fast decay. Don't kill me when I tell you that I don't mind a little bit of like a loose drum head warble. Because I like the head loose on top, but the bottom head fairly tight. That way it doesn't completely kill the tone. I have a thick Remo-coated Emperor on top, which will help focus the overtones and still give me some good stick definition. And not to mention on this drum kit for big and, but dry sounding toms, I tend to favor older and maybe even used heads. These drums are being captured by one of my all-time favorite mics, the AKG 414 BULS. The 414 is a classic sound. It's useful and versatile, and the re-rejection is incredible. The BULS model is the icing on the cake because it's one of the smoothest 414s that I've ever heard. It's just so warm and buttery, and it captures the toms with finesse and a kind of gentleness instead of this bitter and brittle dynamic mic. These mics are going through the API 3124. I've sung my praises about how great this piece of gear is. It's such an awesome preamp, so I'm not going to go into it again. The recap is, I love it. It's just nice and punchy, and it really highlights the transients in a favorable manner. Then after that, they're going through the API 560 EQ. And in this EQ, I'm just taking out all of the gross mids of the drum. So remember when I told you not to hate me about the loose drum head warble? Well, this is where we're going to kind of correct that, and we're going to take some of that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost the fundamentals of the drums around 63 to 125, and then I'm going to cut out 250 to 1K, and I'm making it all, with the gentle slope in the EQ so it's not so drastic. So inside of Pro Tools, I love working with this Brainworks SSL channel strip. Before I show you what's going on here, have a listen to the drums with the channel strip bypassed. So not awful, but they still need a little help. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the compressor, and I'm going to set the ratio around 3 to 1, and then I'm going to have a fast release, and then I'm going to bring the threshold down so that way I'm shaving off about 3 to 6 dB, and I'm doing this on both drums. Have a listen to that. So again, still need some help with the EQ. So what I'm going to do here is find some of this nastiness down here around 900. and take that out. Additionally, up here in kind of this 2K area, I'm just not a fan, so I'm going to take that out. And it's sort of similar on the other drum as well. So here they are together with both the compression and the EQ engaged. So a lot cleaner, but we're just missing some depth. So what I'm going to do here is play the toms by themselves and then slowly add in the overheads. Yeah, that makes a world of difference. And then I'm going to add in the room mic. Yeah, we're just giving so much life back to the drums. Next, I hate that I'm using this again, but it is the Waves Infected Mushroom Pusher. So this is the next plugin that I add in. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know how much I love this plugin, but you know that I have no idea what the hell it does. All I know is that I love it. So same as the other videos, I literally just slap it on. I don't touch any of the knobs, but it focuses the tone. It's really cool. Yeah, that sounds nice. All right, so heading over to the drum bus, this is where I have all of my tracks bussed to one kind of aux send return kind of channel thing. And on this, I've got the Shadow Hills mastering compressor. I know it's overkill, whatever. I think it sounds great. So here I just have kind of I've got a faster attack, fast release, minimal ratio kind of set at 3. And then we're just shaving off a couple of dB just to smooth out the transients. Yeah, that sounds so good to me. And then in the parallel bus, I'm going to add in this Sound Toys decapitator for some harmonic distortion. And I'm going to cut out the lows just a hair. And then I'm going to turn the tone knob down to make it a little bit darker. And I'm going to set the mix around 60%. And then after that, I'm going to take this SSL kind of G bus compressor thing, and I'm going to squash the hell out of it. So I'm going to have a slow attack, fast release. The ratio is around 4:1, and for the threshold, I'm probably going to be knocking off around 8 dB. Now listen to the drum bus without the parallel bus. It just fattens it up in such a pleasing way. So rounding out the levels and layers of compression on the drums is on my drum, bass, percussion bus is a plugin that I am embarrassed to say that I use, but I do like what it does. And it's the CLA mixdown plugin. It's kind of this garbage, one knob thing, whatever. And you have to be careful with it because it can really start to like make your drum sound super pumpy. But if you use it sparingly, like I think I do, I think it really adds, this kind of special sparkle and glue to the overall drum track. So I'm going to start you off listening to the track without it, and then I'm going to engage it. Yeah, so it's fine. In this mix, though, I am hearing a little bit of this kind of like mid-range buildup. So I don't normally do this, but I've gone ahead and I've thrown on an EQ onto the drum and bass bus. And I'm just carving out a little bit of 800 here. So I'll do an A-B comparison for you. So that just smooths it out to me. And then this is kind of a misrepresentation of what I really do, because normally on this, the final section, the mix bus, I normally have, other instruments in there. So all of the compression and EQ in here is really for the overall track. But I just wanted to show you how I can get the drums to speak a little bit more through this final mix bus, which includes typically some sort of mastering EQ, and then this Shadow Hills compressor again, which I'm doing everything a little bit slower now. So I have a really low ratio, slow attack, slow release, just to smooth everything over. And then the final section is just loudness, which is the ozone kind of limiter thing. I really try not to take off too much. Otherwise, again, we're getting into that pumpy range, and I just don't think that sounds that good. So it's a fine line to walk, but you'll hear it. So here is kind of the final mix with all of the plugins on. Yeah, I think that's great. It helps to add another layer of fat to mold the drums together into one full sounding instrument. As you can see, there's a lot that goes into my tom sound. It's not just about the tom mics, and it's not just one simple trick to make them sound great, but it's a combination of tools from across the kit to really amplify the sound of these two drums. So my biggest piece of advice is to make all of the parts of the drum kit work together, and that's, microphones, processing, the drums themselves. And remember that the drums are one whole instrument by themselves. I get so caught up in the nitpicky things in each drum, but I forget to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, so I hope that helps. As always, I'm so grateful you joined to hear me talk out of my stupid mouth hole, but I hope you learned something. Drop a comment below, as I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep making more videos like this for y'all. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.